Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. What I was just doing there, that was an example of the A Ionian mode, okay? Also known as the A major scale. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing a 7-part series on each of the 7 modes, and I really want to hammer one point home, and that is that modes are tonalities, okay? Modes have a specific sound to them, alright? Modes are not patterns on the fretboard. Modes are not dictated by the lead guitar player. All right, the lead guitar player does not determine that, okay, the band's playing this progression over here. I decide to play the Phrygian mode over top of that chord progression, and then I'm gonna, my soloing is gonna sound exotic and different and all that. That's not how it works. The mode is 100% dictated by the chord progression, and the lead guitar player's job is to follow what the rhythm section is telling him to do. Okay, that is how this modal stuff works. All right, so I made an introduction to modes video lesson, and it's about 45 minutes long, but I really go into depth about this whole tonality thing. And of course, in each of these 7 parts, I'm going to link you to that lesson in case you want to check that out. But for the purposes of this lesson, we're just going to look at the Ionian mode. Okay, so modes are tonalities, as I said. For each of these 7 parts, we're going to look at parallel modes, not relative modes, parallel modes. All right. So what that means is part 1 is going to be the A Ionian mode. Part 2 of the series is going to be the A Dorian mode. Part 3 of the series is going to be the A Phrygian mode. Then the A Lydian mode. Then the A Mixolydian. Then the A Aeolian. Then the A Locrian. Okay. It's all going to be A, okay? So the tonal center is always going to be A. The resolving note of whatever the progression or the chord vamp happens to be is always going to revolve around the note A, but the other notes that I play around A are going to be some sort of an A mode, okay? So for the purpose of this video, we are in the A Ionian mode. All right, so A Ionian modes work for chord progressions. They work perfectly for chord progressions. Like I said, the Ionian mode is interchangeable with the word major key. So you could say A Ionian or you could say A major. Both would mean the same thing. If there is a chord progression and it is in the key of A major, meaning that all of the chords that are within the chord progression are part of the key of A major, and the resolving chord, the last chord that everything resolves to, is the A major chord, then there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Your mode is A Ionian, okay? You can try to play other modes over top of it, but it's not going to sound good, okay? There's going to be a lot of sour notes in there, okay? So, just a quick review. Within the A major key, the 1 chord would be the A major chord. The 2 chord would be the B minor chord. The 3 chord would be the C sharp minor chord. The 4 chord would be the D major chord. The 5 chord would be the E major chord, and the 6 chord would be the F sharp minor chord. And we don't worry about the 7 chord, just worry about the first 6 chords. That's always how things go in a major key. The 1, 4, and 5 chord are always major chords, and 2, 3, and 6 chords are always minor chords, okay? Those are diatonic chords. In this specific example, they're diatonic to the key of A major. Okay, so those chords can be played in any order, any fashion, whatever, any type of progression. So long as those 6 chords are present and your resolving chord is A major, then the A Ionian mode would be the applicable mode. Okay, the rhythm section determines that through the chords that they use. The lead guitar player follows it by playing the A Ionian mode or the A major scale. Okay, so that first example that I gave you was in the key of A major, okay, and it used just the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. It was using the A major chord, the D major chord, and the E major chord. Okay, and I was soloing over top of that, just using this one pattern here. Okay, so this would be the 3 note per string A major scale pattern or the A Ionian mode. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, basic A major scale. So I was just using that pattern. Obviously, this is just one pattern of the A major scale. The A major scale can be spanned across the entire fretboard, and in the second musical example, which I'm going to give you coming up in this video, I'm going to expand this A major scale all the way up and down the neck. Okay, so but just keep in mind that all those notes work. Okay, all the notes work over top of that chord progression, and that's what Ionian sounds like. Okay, so now we're going to get on to the second musical example. Okay, so you see how there, I was soloing over the entire fretboard, but it still had the same sound. Okay, it still had the same overall sound. The chord progression was dictating that the sound was Ionian. Okay, the mode was the Ionian mode, interchangeable with A major. Okay, it didn't matter where I was playing on the fretboard. I was, I was kind of outlining the chord tones by arpeggiating the chord tones. Okay, but all of the chord tones are right in the scale. Okay, there's no non-diatonic chords within there. Everything was right there in the A major scale. Therefore, I could play either chord tones or I could play the scale tones, and everything would more or less work. Okay, so that's the sound of the Ionian mode. Okay, so the major points that I wanted to get across here are: number 1, the mode is always dictated by the rhythm section. The band that is playing the rhythm that you are soloing over is what dictates the mode. You, as the lead guitar player, do not dictate the mode. The rhythm section dictates the mode. Okay? When it comes to the Ionian mode, which is the same thing as a major key, or the Aeolian mode, which we'll go over in part 6 of this series, which is the same thing as the minor key, those work very well for chord progressions. Chord progressions, such as the one we use today, which involve 3 chords, okay, all diatonic to the key of A major. They work well for chord progressions using 2, 3, 4, or more chords, okay? That is not the case with the other modes. All the other 5 modes they work well over 1 to 2 chord vamps. And you'll see as we get to the other parts in this series what I'm talking about. But in general, if a chord progression is present in which all the chords are diatonic to a specific key, then you're either going to be using the Ionian mode or the Aeolian mode. The other modes aren't going to work. Other modes will work in certain instances where where an out of key chord might be thrown into the mix, okay, and you would temporarily switch your mode only over top of that particular chord. But when a chord progression is present in which all the chords are part of the diatonic key, in this case they're all part of the A major key, the Ionian mode is the mode that you're playing in, okay? So those are the points I want to get across in this. Stay tuned for the Dorian mode in part 2, okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks a lot.